There's a sequence, there's a code, there's a combination. And when you get the right combination, it unlocks everything for us. Oh, man. What's happening, everybody, man? Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Coach Code podcast. I have one of my most favorite human beings on the planet hanging out today. Really looking forward to, always look forward to spending time with Mr. Gaydosh. What's up, brother?
Not much, Johnny. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Got a little hotel life going on. So getting ready to go spend some time with Coach Burt.
Hey, you can't go wrong there. There's no better coach out there.
That's it, man. He'll definitely get me moving get me moving faster in the direction that I want to go. So looking forward to that. What's up, man? How have you been?
Good. Can you hear me okay? I'm kind of in our new office, but it's not it's a little echoey in here. We're trying to work on some acoustic stuff.
Acoustics. Loud and clear, man. Okay. For all the fine humans out there that haven't had an opportunity to meet you, because if they did, they would never forget you. I would love for you to give a little background, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So basically, I'm an agent in the Dayton, Ohio area, Midwestern kind of guy. I've been here for many years. Born in Indiana, grew up in Chicago, and just really never left the Midwest. But currently, I own and operate a team here in Dayton, and we stretch from northern Cincinnati, probably about an hour radius, all the way back to Indiana, where I had some of my roots in original RE/MAX franchise back in the day. So we'll do about 350 deals a year and have a team of roughly around 12, 13 active agents that are they're getting after it. And then, kind of a pretty decent sized organization within the EXP world as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And, your business, and I love, so many have modeled their real estate business. And I mean, even what you've done carries over really in any industry, but you've done, kind of the neighborhood mayor, which we'll talk a little bit more about that specifically, but you've really done, the hand-to-hand combat and the relationship side of things better than anyone that I know. And there's a lot of people out there that are doing well with it because they just have followed what you've done. And, I loved kind of when we were working together, consistently how we took what you were able to accomplish at Lockengrin and apply it to Yankee Trace, which is, the community that you live in, the golf course community. But I would love for you to kind of share a little bit about that hand-to-hand combat and the relationship side of things that you've just, really, like I said, done better than anybody to be able to build your business.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Well, I mean, obviously you've been huge in helping us during that time period. And when we started coaching with you, it took us doubled our transactions and then doubled again. So we owe a lot of this to you, but I think a lot of what has transpired with the neighborhood mayor program, and we're going to have a really nice course that's coming out. We're actually working on that now, documenting everything all year long so we can share it a little bit easier with everybody. So keep an eye out for there. But basically what happened was, I'm a pretty social guy, as you know, and we work hard and we play hard. And what happened, I had a RE/MAX franchise in a smaller town that was probably about 15 or 20 minutes from this lake community. Well, I'm a lake rat. So naturally when I was younger, right out of school, got into the I guess the Richmond area that didn't have a lake, started your traditional real estate company like many of you guys out there. And yet there was this little lake community that I didn't know anybody, didn't have any experience. It's kind of a closed community, but I wanted to be on the water. So I ended up buying a place there. Well, the only way that I could jumpstart my career without knowing anybody, and again, this is back in the 90s, is that we didn't have, private Facebook groups, so there wasn't a real good way to even communicate that well, kind of ironically. And I did start when I was like 12 years old. So just so you know, I think Kendra and I were 30 and 30s together a long time ago. Yeah. But, the bottom line is, it was kind of out of necessity. So we looked at it, or I looked at it and said, okay, how am I going to blend what I naturally like doing with the ability to interact with the people around us? And that's where it kind of all started. And so with the first events that I had at my house were just, hey, 10, 15 people, come on over and let's do a cookout. Let me meet you, bring your friends, make sure you bring your friends so I can meet them. And, you know, you're making these little deposits in all these people's lives. And, you know, they remember that when it comes time to think about real estate. And of course, you have to remind them that you're in real estate. But the challenge that I see in the business today is that everybody has their own little circles of people, the only little pockets, their own little cliques of who they hang out with. And when you get into geographic areas, there's not a lot of community like it used to be, where people didn't have all these external influences where they could get on their phone and find out what everybody was doing in the world that they went to school with 20 years ago. Man, their world consists of when they went out in their driveway and looked around to see who was hanging out in the neighborhood. Well, nowadays, that sense of community is gone because there's a lot of other influences out there. So people don't ever leave their house. They don't meet their neighbors. They don't go to the local stuff because there's the opportunity to drive 35 minutes and go somewhere else. Well, that poses a big problem when somebody's trying to hyper local or focus in a neighborhood when it comes to relationships. So we basically, with the intentional purpose, designed events around our neighborhood that was in alignment with what I like to do and what I felt the community needed. And we created essentially a spot to bring people together. And at that point, it was kind of magic. And at that, you know, and it just kind of took off. So everything that we've done now with the neighborhood mayor is the evolution of that over 20 years of documenting it, replicating it, scaling it to other communities, finding out what works, what doesn't work. You know, you talked about boots on the ground and really kind of rolling your sleeves up. You have to do that in those communities, because if not, you know, the postcards just aren't going to cut it. Did I lose you, John? Hold on one second.
Things that
there you go. I got you back.
Okay, cool. So I would love your, you know, feedback on this. You know, I always tell everybody kind of when they're kind of building those foundational pillars for their business, you know, obviously they're people that know them, like them, love them, trust them. Their sphere, their database has to be a big one, right? Especially in today's real estate, to where no matter what, it really comes down to a decision of trust. But really, I think the geo area has to be another key foundational pillar for their business. But it's one of those things, like you said, it's like a garden, right? It's just not going to bear the vegetables and bear the, you know, the fruit right away. It takes time. You've got to become like a real gardener. You got to nourish it, and you got to continue to serve it and feed it before it'll start to produce the results. And just like what you were saying, you know, 20 years, right? Like starting out, just giving out t-shirts, and then we do an event here, and then we add this, and we continue to build on it. And so what do you give as you're coaching your key people, your leaders, to start working their geo areas? Like, how do you kind of like, hey, you need to start here first, and
Right.
then we can build on it. So what's some of your feedback, especially somebody thinking about it today? It's like, man, I would love to. I just don't know where or how to start.
Yeah, that's the problem. And you know, by coaching me, you know that it's a challenge for me too, a little bit of paralysis when you're looking at, you know, you come back from these masterminds and you've got this book of notes where it's like, where do I begin? So you end up just being a little paralyzed and you never start. I think so to answer your question, we have 3 different levels of our neighborhood mayor program. We have the neighborhood mayor candidate. And that's somebody that's going into a neighborhood that basically doesn't have a presence. He may know a few people, but you know, you're cold turkey. You're going in, and with that, we recognize that the things that you're going to be able to afford to do in that neighborhood, unless you're funding it from another source, is going to be limited in terms of money. So you're doing a lot of more sweat equity things, door knocking, walking neighborhoods, doing events that don't cost a lot of money, flyers, that kind of old school stuff, right? I know it sounds funny, but it's stuff still works. And then as you graduate to a higher level and you start to get about 10% market share, we call that a first term mayor. And the first term mayor is going to do a little bit bigger events. They're going to pull in some more people to help with that events. You're going to leverage other events in the neighborhood that you can invite to. So now you've got the value of a following. So now you can take that to a larger organization and say, listen, I've got a presence here. I'm going to bring my people to you, and then you partner on things. And then the last thing is the incumbent mayor, which that's somebody that's dominating the neighborhood. And a domination in the neighborhood at 15 to 20% doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot of market share. And you're going to do other things that are even more incredible. So to answer your question, I think that the first thing I would do is I would set out and plan out your schedule, and we certainly can help you with ideas. Is that you take your 12 months and you say, okay, what are events that are happening naturally from what do you call it? Like Valentine's Day, holidays was the word I was looking for. What holidays are coming up that you could piggyback a few events on? For example, Halloween. You could have, if you live in the neighborhood, have a Halloween party for the kids out in the front driveway where you provide pizza, hot dogs, scary music. It's a place where everybody knows they can congregate before they go out. And we have a picture of everybody in the neighborhood. We do a costume contest, things like that do not cost money at all. It's just effort. So those are the things that you can do with other holidays and events that are happening. Another thing that we hit it out of the park with is a Kona Ice, end of school and first day of school party.
Gotcha.
So the first day the kids go to school, we bring in the Kona Ice truck. I think it's like $250, and they give out 200 Kona Ices for all the kids. Well, we market it. Everything we do, now that you've established yourself in the neighborhood, might be a little bit bigger. But if you don't have a presence there, you might walk around and pass out flyers or put door knockers on. There are lenders out there that will partner with you that will produce print stuff for you very inexpensively if you share the client, if you get it, and then just hang the door knockers all around the neighborhood saying, hey, listen, guys, we're having a Kona Ice party for the kids afterwards, and we can teach you how to do that. So those are things that do not cost a lot of money that you can do. And it's just more sweat equity more than anything.
I love that. And, the Kona Ice Truck is a huge hit. And I know other agents that have, kind of got that from you and have had just tremendous feedback and success. And, one of the things, and I would love, why this is important, but the consistency. And, a lot of agents, especially on the neighborhood mayor, because they don't see the results right away, they give up on it. So right. For you to gain that momentum, what is the consistency? What's the investment? What's the discipline that needs to be there for this to really, because it prints money for you. You can't go anywhere in your communities. They know who you are, it's just, and so how do you, keep those agents engaged and not to give up on it?
Sure. Well, I'm going to answer that question in a moment, but when you talked about printing money, when somebody calls you within the neighborhood and it's a come list me call, the conversation is a lot different than it is when you're going up against 3 other agents, commission pressures, all kinds of other things. So there's a lot of other, side benefits to this whole thing when people are wanting you because they see you as the expert in the area. But, to answer your question, the consistency is the key. You have to lay it out. And it's just like, I remember it's probably been 7 or 8 years ago, Kendra was talking about when he started radio or when he started TV, and you were part of this. Literally bleeding cash, doing the TV. It was very expensive, getting ready to quit. And at the last month, like 8 months into the deal, all of a sudden his phone started going crazy. Well, it took that long for that type of marketing to really kick in. And it was worth it at the end. But if you only gave it 3 or 4 months, he would have never continued and lost a lot of money. Same thing with the neighborhood mayor. It has a long sales tail to it, we call it. It's not like going out buying Zillow leads where you're going to immediately get somebody come, let me help you sell a house. This is going to be something that you have You have to put the work in. You have to design your entire year around it. You have to be consistent. And there's three things that I think are super important when you're dealing with this. Number one is you have to create an audience. So the audience is absolutely key to being able to dominate a neighborhood. And that means, think of it like your own media brand. You own your own news channel, right? When you want to get anything out to the public, that's your channel. You can do what you want on it. Sorry, my phone there. So that's key. So you have to have the audience. You have to have the content. You have to create content to provide or spoon feed the audience. And then you have to have the event to create the content. So it's one big full circle. And you may have heard me talk about this in the past, but if you like, for example, these events, this is a practical way to think about it. Before a Kona Ice event, there are about 10 different things that are going to happen during the course of that event. But beforehand, there's 2 or 3 that are real important. Number one, we're going to send out a postcard to everybody in the neighborhood. We're going to do every door direct. And on that postcard is going to have a QR code. It's also going to, so we're driving them to our audience, which lives in a private Facebook group. So the postcard is designed to get people to the private Facebook group and to continue to build our subscribers on our media channel. It's going to have generic, hey, listen, this event's going to happen this day. For more details, go to this URL. Again, it's attracting the people that are not real Facebook savvy. It attracts the young people that aren't on Facebook. It's there. It's kind of like your traditional old school mailing. And then you're going to create the Facebook Live that's going to be the build up to the event. Hey, it's Andrew. We're doing this awesome event for the kids. This is what it looked like last year. Make sure you come and check us out. It's going to be wonderful. You build it up and you sell it. Again, it's an impression for you. You're making a deposit in these people's lives in the community, and you're good to go. Then the third thing is, when you get to the event, you have to have some structure as to who comes to the event. So always have a list. Check off, and if you don't have a list of anybody that's an open invite, make sure you have paper and pen and clipboards, or however you want to do it. If you want to be technology driven, have it set up on your CRM to auto download into your CRM. But you have to get information from everybody that's there, and it's a really easy sales pitch. Hey, it's Andrew. I'm so glad you made it, man. I hope you guys are having fun and the kids having a good time. Great. Hey, listen, we do all kinds of events like this all year round. I want to make sure that you're included. Would you want to be included in our social list? They say, of course. Yeah. Who would say no to that, right? You're already giving them, a free Kona Ice. Well, now, boom, you got them. They're in the system, and they're going to now be part of your audience from now on out. During the event, there's another Facebook Live trying to get more people there. So you had one impression the week before, you have an impression during and then after the event, there's a follow-up. We always video everything. So there's a follow-up sizzle reel, just showing people what you did, the deposit you made in the lives, how much everybody had a good time. And you're always promoting the next event at every current event you're doing. So you do the event, you promote the next event at this event. And if you do that, it's not real rocket science. I'm not the smartest kid in school, but I always sat next to the smartest kid, and I didn't cheat, but I learned, hey, what were they doing? I can do this too. And I think if you guys think about that, it can work easy for you. Hey, John, I lost you again. Can you hear me? Darn it.
Oh.
I don't know why.
A little difficult.
There we go. Gotcha. I don't know why. Can you hear me? I wonder what's up.
Hello.
I got you now. I don't know what happened.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. Yep.
Weird. Okay. So it's weird. I had a comment saying that they couldn't hear me, but they could hear you.
Okay.
I guess my thought around that is that, you can go get, um, you can go buy the list to the neighborhood, right? You can get all the contact information. But what I love about the invite and getting them there is that they're raising their hand to you to say, yes, send me information. Yes, talk to me. So you're warming them up. And I
Right.
think that's so important because we've all been guilty of this. We get all of this junk email in our inbox and we're like, oh, well, I said yes, that they could send that to me. So you don't get upset.
Right.
You don't send it to spam. You don't raise the red flag on it. So I think that is really, really important to what you're talking about is that we can send everything to them, but we need them to raise their hand so that they give us permission for us to really market to them. One of the things that I just kind of been on my mind, I wanted to get your feedback on. We know how tough it is in almost every market across the country. I mean, inventories are at historic lows, back into the bidding wars, back into, um, you know, the accelerated price, everybody just thousands and thousands of dollars over asking price. How has your present, neighborhood mayor process, how has that helped you in kind of what you're seeing, especially over the next 12, 18, 24 months of real estate? How has that really helped you and positioned you in the market to where, hey, if we are going to sell, we're going to go with Andrew, we're going to go with his team because you've built trust. How has that helped in today's market conditions with establishing yourself as the neighborhood mayor?
Yeah, I think that you hit it on the head. In a complex, the real estate transaction has become more complex. And what we've been trying to educate our consumer over the last 2, 3 years is that, hey, this isn't like it was back in, when they were kids. You put a sign in the yard, you put it in the newspaper, and you wait for somebody to come by and look at it and make an offer. There are several different variables that are new every year that we have to deal with. Now, we just did a kind of a post about, hey, has anybody heard of an appraisal gap waiver? Has anybody heard of, multiple offers or frenzying properties, a strategy of frenzying a listing so that you can get more people for it? So we've kind of gone on an educational campaign within our communities and outside of our communities to educate the consumer that, yeah, it's easier to sell a house right now than it's ever been if you are a consumer. But it's harder to get maximum money than it's ever been if you're a consumer as well. And the reason being is that how do you know if you've never done this and dealt with a market that is just on fire? I mean, we had 17 offers on a property the other day. It went for $60,000 over listing, and that's a lot when it's only a $400,000 home. So as we're telling the story on a daily basis to our audience, that is creating the need to call us even more. And if they know, like, and trust us because we're in the community, they know we have their backs, we know that we're trying to get those property values as high as we can, I would hope that they would at least give us the opportunity first to get our foot in the door to help them navigate these uncertain times. Hey, John, you're down again, bud. I think every time I start talking, it messes you up. And we can't hear you. So while he's doing that, you guys can probably hear me. So chime in when you want, John. Another thing and this is just a little pro tip when it comes down to these neighborhood or to the communities that are, that when we're creating a private Facebook group in a community, it's a double-edged sword. It gives everybody in the community a voice to essentially say what they want. So it's real important when you create these private Facebook groups that you monitor who's on them, number one, and we make no bones about it. This is a private Facebook group that we've created and we manage. And, other agents are not necessarily welcome unless they're going to kind of play by the rules. And the rules are that you are to be positive. It's for the community's growth. This is not a HOA site where you can bitch and moan. This is a place for us to have a great promotion of our community. And in doing so, you have to be careful because others are going to want to promote listings on there. And when you create the utopia for everybody in the community, if there's 1,500 homes and you have 1,100 members in your private Facebook group, it does create an opportunity for them to throw up their listing and say, oh, by the way, for sale by owner, come and check out my house. They've just immediately gotten to everybody in the neighborhood. So you have to be a little cautious on how you do that. So what our policy is, we just don't allow that. And you want to create some type of preset rules so that everybody understands that, hey, this is a site for the community. This is not a site to sell stuff on. John, are you back? Nope.
Let's see if that helps. Can you hear me there?
Got you now.
Okay, cool. So hopefully we figured that out. Yeah, I think, what I really love about kind of what you've done, you got their attention, is that it allows you to then plug in marketing and information to them that addresses kind of what's keeping them up at night. And so what are you guys seeing, especially I would think at Lock and Grand? I mean, if they're selling, obviously they're moving away. They're not relocating typically within the community. And then I would say the same thing too, probably with Yankee Trace, because one of the big challenges with sellers right now, and I mean, I know you know this better than anybody, is, hey, Andrew, we would love to sell. We would love to get 20% over our list price, but where are we going to go? Like, right. Where are we going? So how have you guys been kind of navigating that conversation, or have you even had to address it?
Yeah, no, it's been a struggle for the last 2 years. Outside of, at Lock and Grand, I actually, ended up personally buying several homes that I keep out just for short-term rentals for people. But that's not practical. Certainly in a lot of areas, I see that not being practical in my Yankee Trace market. So I think you have to get very creative with your financing. There are several, I guess the best point is to educate your seller to understand that if they put their house on the market, their house will sell, as long as there's not some kind of, biohazard or something like that. So the confidence is, hey, look, this isn't the 90s where you can sit on the market for, 9 months. Your house is going to sell. So what are our financing options? You're going to have to get out there and you're going to have to be ready to go to pounce on whatever becomes available. And most often there are lenders in the area that are willing to do bridge loans and things like that they can get set up so that it's good as cash. In certain markets like Atlanta and South around here, I think it's called Ribbon. I think it is. I think that's what it is. And Ribbon is this. We've got something similar to that around here from one of our lenders, and that is with and what's one of the lenders that we have. I think it's Thrive Mortgage. If you guys have Thrive Mortgage in your area, they're a large national company, but they have a program where they will qualify our sellers to be able to buy another home without counting the debt of their existing home. It's very similar to what Ribbon's doing. Yeah. And it's amazing. It's not that expensive. So if you can educate your consumer, let them know that, hey, listen, I know there's no inventory out there, but when it does come up, you got to be ready to pounce and you have to be ready to go, even though your house isn't sold yet. We're going to take care of the house. The house will sell, but let's get you financed and ready to go. So that's like the low-lying fruit. That's pretty much what you can do. And then the other thing that we do is we do pride ourselves in rolling our sleeves up and finding off-the-market properties. So if you're coming to our community, we have a history of people that we know that we've sold properties to, and we can go door knock for you if we know what you're looking for. And I think that's probably the next evolution there, that, if you have people that are looking to sell, to educate them on the fact that we can go find them inventory. Just because it's not on the market doesn't mean it's not on the market.
I would think too, that it makes it easy for you when you're having to do that and you identify somebody that's coming into the community. They're like, hey, Andrew, this is what I'm, this is what I would need. This is kind of what we would, kind of would want as well. And when you go looking for it, once you get to really established and the community, you're like, I got a couple properties that might just work. Let me reach out to, let me call them and see what we can do. To me, that I'm just just thinking through different scenarios that we've been encountered, right, in the communities and things that we've really focused on. I can immediately go and, like, I know a couple properties. Let me reach out to the homeowners and see if we can't make something happen. So I think that's another huge advantage, especially with the market conditions the way they are. And I mean, I'm not, 18, 24 months, I don't see it changing much with
No, I
just,
mean,
basic supply and demand.
yeah, guys, I can't stress to you enough that, I'm not saying, and I think John's saying, Cindy, we're not saying that the hyper local market, or what we call the neighborhood mayor type of model, is the only thing you should be doing. I think it needs to be 1/3 of your business plan. And I believe that everybody should have at least 3 sources or pillars of business, but it needs to be the one that you go to, or the golden goose. And with this, to John's point, it really does help you in tough markets. When it's a horrible market like it was in 2008, 2009, and many of you guys haven't lived through that. Well, trust me, I did. You have, right now we have one listing in Lockengren of 1,500 homes, and it'll be sold by the afternoon. There was a time for years I was carrying 77 and 75, 77 to 80 listings, just were sitting there. Well, guess what? In those tough markets, who are they going to call? They're going to call the guy that they think is the best, because they really need a strong realtor, and they need somebody that's an expert in the area. So when times are tough, they really need you even more. When times are really fast and times are really good, and it gets red hot like it is right now, they need you more as well to manage these variables. Again, I mentioned earlier that when you go and somebody says, "Hey, Andrew, I'm ready to talk," that conversation is a lot different than it is if I'm going into an area that I don't really know them, or they have not ingested a lot of our content over the years. There's a different relationship. I know it's funny when we're a lot of these events together, there's many times where, we're walking away from a crowd of people, and he's like, "Man, who was that?" And I'm like, "Man, I don't know." And they were, because they've been watching us for all these years, and especially Jay, with all the content he puts out there. It's a one-way relationship, and it's a great thing. We wouldn't trade it for the world, but I do think that is something that does help you in a lot of ways. And then, it's a long sales process. You're going to get frustrated. You got to stick with it. You have to have a process. You have to have a budget. We can teach you how to bring in preferred vendors to partner with you, those that are established in the business and understand that it's a long process and they're not going to get immediate returns out of it. But if you can do this, cultivate it, grow it, like you said, a farm analogy, man, the crops just keep coming as long as you don't mess it up, as long as you take care of people and you treat them the way you'd want to be treated.
Yeah, there's it's a difference in positioning, and there's this concept of the genius or the help. And when you have that authority and that positioning in the market, you're the genius, and it's just a different conversation. They listen differently. And, you guys listening in, I mean, Andrew's extremely humble. I mean, 100% of every transaction that happens in Lockengren goes through you. So,
not quite. There was about 15 years we did 100% of the waterfronts, which is a portion of the community, but we maintain about a 75% market share in that community. Yeah.
Yeah. Think about that, guys. 1,500 homes and maintain 75% market share. That just goes to show you what's possible. And, for you guys, if you know that you need to take this, maybe you're doing a geo farming area, you need to take it to the next level. You got to get plugged in with the neighborhood mayors. I know Andrew has a Facebook group, neighborhood mayors. I would go and, try to get into that group and, really be a part of that community, because just like Andrew said, I mean, it's got to be one of your key pillars in your business, if you really want to, be sustainable, to be able to hang in any market conditions.
Yeah, I mean, what we're finding, and you guys see this too, John, is that the technology is, it's changed our business to the point where it allows somebody like my brother, who's never been in the business, to be, sharp guy, successful in his, he's a salesman, younger, he's like 15 years younger than I am. So it's what he does and where he grew up was different than I did, and he could get into real estate today through technology and leapfrog, probably 10 years in advance of what I could have done with what we had available to us at the time. However, that's a double-edged sword in that, the leads, the technology piece, it's easy come, easy go if you don't have that strong relationship with your consumer. And that's where you see people like Michael Reese and Jay Kender and Al Stasek that are out there creating a relationship with their audience via lots of different platforms on social media, YouTube, that type of thing, because the relationship is the key. And you have to have that digital relationship, and you have to have that relationship that you have in your neighborhoods as well. And the third that we call it is our sphere of influence. Those are the people that are general. If you invite 400 people to your wedding, who would you invite? Those people need to be on your personal sphere of influence as well. And the cool thing about these events is that, some of the most successful agents out there are creating events that they can bring people into of their entire past clients. It doesn't have to be geographically centered, but for us, what we will do is we will leverage all three parts. So we have three parts to our past clients. We have our gold, silver, and bronze, and each one of those are labeled based on the amount of business that they refer us or influence that they have over our customers. And if we do, for example, we're having a huge St. Patrick's Day party. You need to come into town, John. I've been trying to get you in there forever. But
I know, man. I got to do it.
Another event, and this is a great idea for many of you guys. So there's a local bar in downtown Dayton that has one of the largest St. Patrick's Day parties in the country, and a massive tent that you could, have a football field in it. And basically what we've done is we've kind of borrowed that event, and then we have an add-on tent that's like a 40 by 40 tent that's on the side left of stage. And that's where we invite all of our past customers to at different levels, meaning that if they're, somebody that's promoting us all the time, giving us referrals, or very influential in the community, they're going to be a gold, and they may have a different level of perks. We may pay their ticket in the door and then pay their ticket into ours and give them unlimited drinks or whatever the deal is. But the point there is that when we're doing these things, that translates not only to our entire database, then we go into our neighborhoods. And I'm not the only one doing neighborhoods in our neighborhood or on our team. We have Jason and several others that are, they've got their own neighborhoods, and they're basically following the same timeline, the same events. We're just changing the names of the neighborhoods and putting their names in and switching my face out and putting our agents' faces in there. And essentially, we're inviting all those other individual people and making it, hey, this is the Yankee Trace, St. Patrick's Day event. We're going to be joining with our team event, but come on down. It's very specific and tailored towards that Yankee Trace. So that can serve as one of the events that you're doing during the year, and it's coupled with your client appreciation party, and nobody knows the difference. It's all how you package it.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it takes a lot off. And I would always, obviously, you can give some best practices on this, but man, starting out is just borrow and piggyback everybody else's events instead of trying to do the heavy lifting yourself, because it does. I mean, you used to handle it all. You've got, definitely a key event coordinator now that you've kind of evolved into. But in the beginning, just piggyback and borrow off of anybody and everybody else's event instead of trying to, because events are heavy. Events can get real heavy, and so really borrow that is super key starting out.
Yeah, and don't overthink it when you're starting out. Start out with a block party in the neighborhood. Start out with the 5 houses in your cul-de-sac. Create a good, fun event so people talk to other people. Expand it. Don't try to do too much too soon. And then leverage those relationships, and people will come to you. I know we've got several of our coaching clients across the country that are doing the same things, and it's funny how I've watched them evolve as well, which is pretty neat. And they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this! We got 5 new listings in the neighborhood," but yet 2 months prior they were, "Hey Andrew, is this really working? Man, we're spending the money, but we're not getting it." But it's like going to the gym, John. You got to put your training in.
You do, man. And it's staying disciplined to it, right? The consistency. And I saw an article on this. I want to go back and read it, but it was like consistently, discipline, however they put the two words together, right? Somebody could be disciplined, but it's also about being consistent. And, it's, consistency over time, being disciplined to the process. So that's really where I think where you'll bear the fruit. I mean, it's a farm and you got to treat it like one. And, you just got to nourish it. You got to, you're going to learn as it continues to grow. One of the things that I've always admired about you, and I would love your, how this works for you. When we look at kind of our happiness buckets, right? Health, wealth, and relationships, man, you're really consistent and disciplined in all three. You've got an amazing family. You've got super active kids that excel in everything that they do. You've got this business. I mean, you're doing consistently 300 plus deals a year, organization's growing, you still find time, to take care of your fitness, stay in great shape. Like as agents really are navigating and trying to figure things out, they tend to let go of one or the other, right? They'll go all in on their business and their health will fail or their relationships will fail. And then they have to focus on their relationships and then their business fails. What's worked, I mean, for you? Dawn's amazing. Your kiddos are amazing. You guys have a great relationship. Everything's flourishing. How do you maintain, the levels of those buckets at such a high level?
I think that it's funny. Part of it's luck, like anything. Being a partner, having a partner in life like Dawn is. She's amazing, and it's helped me be able to focus more on the business where she's taken heavy lifting on the family. But I think the answer to that is, I've always bet on people, and it goes back to the stuff we used to talk about all the time. Every time we got together, it's getting the right people on the bus. And there's shiny objects, and there's people that that, man, you think they're doing great, but you get to talking to them, and maybe in your gut it's not the right fit. I think having the right people surrounding you and being fair to them and looking at it like a win-win. I don't want to be the only person on the lake with a boat. I want the people around me to have the success to have their own boats. I don't want them having to hang out with me just because they don't like me, but they want to be on my boat, right? That's always been kind of the back of my mind. I know Jay and I kind of have similar philosophies that way, is that how many people can we, help create what they want out of it. And if we get that, and I think that's kind of how I've approached every facet of my life, in that if we could create an environment that others would want, what would that be? And unfortunately, there's some things in business that I've not been able to probably do as well as maybe I could have, because I had to make sure that, I attended to the family. I wanted to make sure I spent the right time in the right sectors, and that's tough to do. I mean, there's no question about it. And it does, like I said, it's a blessing having a spouse that gets it. And trust me, Dawn, she'll tell you if it's like, she's grabbing me up saying, you are going to go to the game tonight, right? Or, I never have issues missing games, but sometimes when it's practice and things like that, she's wrangling me in to kind of make sure that my priorities are focused. But I think that's pretty much it. I think you got to lay out what's important to you and understand that happiness is a matter of what's happy to you. It's not really the successes, how many houses you have to sell or how much money you have at the bank. It really kind of makes it's a measurement of what is important to you, and then finding out what's important to others around you and helping them get what they want.
Yeah, it's so good. And, I mean, there's a lot of things that you guys have had to divide and conquer on. And I think that's also important, being able to see that and, understanding that they know the plan, right? That, the family knows the plan, knows what we're trying to accomplish. So they understand. Sometimes they don't like it, but they understand what the vision for the family is and how the business allows to support that. And that's one of the things, like, if they don't know the plan, they can't support the plan. And that's why I always kind of push is like, hey, you've got to let your family know. You got to let them know what the vision is, what we're trying to do. And not only the vision for the business, because the business supports the vision for our family.
Correct.
And man, you got to communicate that to them. You got to, I mean, it's no different than our team, right? And we know that we've got to be comfortable at repeating ourselves. We need to be reminded more than we need to be told. And that's the same thing on the family and the kiddo side of things as well, as like, hey, I'm not going to make this one, but I'm here, understand kind of what's going on and what we're trying to accomplish. So no, it's gold.
Well, I think one of the things when I think of you, I quote, this is probably my number one John Kitchens quote is, an agreement is a must as opposed to expectations. If you're going to have an expectation of somebody, you can both expect what you want out of it, but you really need to have an agreement as to what we all want. And if that agreement is in place, then you can't dispute it. And I think you're absolutely right when you say that about business and about family and about everything that you do, with your spouse, significant other, your kids. Hey, listen, this is what dad's going to do. This is what I want you to do. Are you in agreement that this is what we should be doing together? And if so, then let's move forward. And if one of us is out of line, let's hold each other accountable for it. And I think that's kind of the key. And just remember, I can't stress this enough to all you guys out there, is that don't always think that everything's wonderful for everybody John, you and I, we have friends that hell, if I looked at them, I think everything's the most perfect thing in the world. And I'm like, Jesus, you have this anxiety, like I could be doing better. And then when you really have that conversation with them, it's like, man, some things are maybe out of whack, or maybe they're struggling, or there's some illness in the family or whatever. But my point there is that we as consumers, we as people watching others on the internet, have to understand that it's not always what it appears to be. And if you could take that and don't get stressed out about it, just try to keep focused on what's important to you and what your measures of success are, then man, it just comes to you. As long as you help others get around you, get their idea of success, it's going to work for you.
Yeah. It's so key. It's always layers deeper. There's, we've all have our own mess, right? Going on at any time. So I think that's just, kind of important to take into consideration and always remember. And, I think that's, key and not to be so hard on ourselves, right? It's like, hey, I'm just focused. I know where I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get a little bit better each and every day. And I'm trying to help everybody around me that I want in my circle to get a little bit better each and every day as well. And so it is, to that point, it's the ones that, especially hard driving entrepreneurs, small business owners, they're the ones that typically are quiet when things are a mess. And for you guys out there that have those entrepreneur friends, small business, check in on them, right? Check in on them. Just check in. How are you doing? I haven't heard from you in a while, and just make sure everything's good to go, I think is really important.
Yeah, that's well said. Yep, definitely.
Hey, got a quick question here before we kind of wrap up. And I greatly appreciate your time and jumping in and hanging out. Always look forward to conversating with you. But we do the offline, right? On the neighborhood mayor, we're sending postcards. We're doing those things. We're taking them offline, trying to get them online. Are you doing any type of ads online, social media ads to drive people into the neighborhood?
So are you asking, are we driving people to our group, or are we doing ads outside to attract people to buy homes in the neighborhood?
Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of the question is, are you guys doing anything social media related, ads directed into the neighborhoods? Are we targeting, doing some direct targeting?
Gotcha. So part of our neighborhood program is that we'll go in and we'll build a website that looks like the HOA site. That's kind of the website function of it. And within that website, that's an educational website designed to catch people like that's the cheese. When people are coming to the area, they Google it, it needs to show up. So we certainly do promote the community to outside the community to drive them to that website so that they can learn that, everything about it. And guess what? When they click on real estate, we're the only realtors there. We don't do a lot of social media, or we don't do a lot of promotion outside of the area to those that are in the area, or vice versa, unless it's a global marketing piece. Like, for example, when we do the events or, awards and things like that, we just kind of replicate it everywhere. So we'll do our exterior post and our exterior influence boost of whatever we're doing or what have you. And then we're going to probably replicate it, but be a little bit more specific as it relates, the content as it relates to the neighborhoods, if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it does. And it's, perfect. Hey, guys, listening to this, I mean, you've got to get into Andrew's community, the neighborhood mayor Facebook group, really get in as they unroll the course here in the near future. Make sure you guys get plugged into that course. It is a key piece to your business, especially if you're looking for some sustainability and over time. And I know most of you guys listening to this, you're not going anywhere for the next 5 or 10 years. So get that farm area, get that geo target dialed in. You're going to thank yourself, 4 or 5 years from now when it's just consistently bearing fruit and you're positioned as that go-to authority in the marketplace.
Yeah, that's great. One last thing kind of on that note, I know we're up against a deadline, but once you do get the golden goose going per se, you then can fund other opportunities. John and I are going to go to St. Thomas and create a neighborhood mayor right there. And what's the bay of that house we stay in?
Megan's Bay.
Megan's Bay. We need to be the neighborhood mayor of Megan's Bay. That's what
I agree. I think our partner in crime, Blake Sloan, would agree with that as well.
Exactly. But to that point it's something that once you get it, you can replicate it. And man, I wish you guys all best of luck, John. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping us get to where we're going to go. And if there's anybody out there that, John is the man. I've got him. He's going to be coaching our team for the next year individually. So if anybody wants to take their game to the next level, give him a call, man. He's good at seeing the future of what you can do and also helping you prod you along to get you in the right direction.
I appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much. And catch you guys on the next episode. See you.
All right. See you.